Today is Saturday, the 16th of April 2022, and this is the 28th session on mindfulness for beginners in English. I would like to welcome with respect Venerable Bhante Humagama Dhamma Kusala Thero to today's session, and I would also like to welcome all those attending the session through Zoom. And I would like to wish all of you a happy Sri Lankan New Year as well. To commence the program session for today, I would like to invite Venerable Bhante Humagama Dhamma Kusala Thero to commence with the in-session mindfulness practice. Over to Bhante. Much merits.
Hello everybody. So we are meeting again after a break last week. We are meeting after 2 weeks, I guess. So today we will start with a sitting session. We will try to practice mindfulness while in the seated posture. For this, you have to make sure that you are seated comfortably and your body is balanced. Once you have that comfort, you can close your eyes and pay attention that you are seated. Just try to be aware what you feel when you pay attention like this. In this moment, you are seated comfortably and you are aware. When you have that awareness, you will start to notice various things. You may notice sounds from the surrounding. Time to time, thoughts may appear in your head. When you pay attention again and again, you might notice your body as well. Bodily sensations you may notice. Maybe you notice the pressure on your back. Sometimes your breath becomes prominent. Maybe at your nostrils, maybe the movement of the stomach, you may notice. We identify these things as a result of awareness that we are practicing. Again and again, thoughts may appear. Again and again, various sounds may appear. Among these things, you are seated in this moment and you are peaceful. Let the sounds and thoughts flow naturally while you are aware. Again and again, try to be present in this moment. As a group, we will try to maintain this awareness for a few more minutes. Okay, now you can slowly open your eyes. So that's about 10-15 minutes of mindful sitting. And that's a good start for today's program. And with that, we can move forward now, man.
Thank you so much, Mantri. It is always good to practice this in-session mindfulness as at the very beginning. Everyone will feel more focus and attention during the session. Now, we have received one written report for today's session, and it is customary for us in this program to go through the session, the mindfulness practice reports, seeking advice from Bhante. So now, for today, I would like to invite cordially Arosha to present the written report and conduct a Q&A session with opportunity for verbal questions afterwards. Over to you, Arosha. Thank you. Much merits.
Avasarai Bhante, and thank you very much, Namante. Bhante, as Namante mentioned, we have one report today from an adult. It begins as follows. Sitting meditation. Watching breath as primary object. First, noted posture of body, position of legs and feet sitting cross-legged. Mind noted in and out breath. Observed sweating, sounds, warmth, sensations of hair on face. Mind went back to breath, noting warmth, coldness of air. Breath broke up, disappeared, and reappeared. Mind felt empty for a period, not sleepy, but alert. Meditated for 45 minutes. Time passed quickly. Daily mindfulness. Watching placing of feet when walking during the day. Also, when brushing teeth, now doing it with non-dominant hand, observing the position of toothbrush, directions of movement, dripping of saliva, wetness and cold sensations on hand, position of brush on teeth, gums. The changing of the hold when brushing the different sides. Although slower action compared to using dominant hand, it helps to be more mindful. Eating breakfast mindfully. Share merit with those who grew the food, made it, transported it, packed it onto shelves, etc. Note color, texture, anticipation of mind to alter taste by adding nuts and seeds to it. Note holding of spoon, getting food onto it, lifting and placing it in mouth. When placing food in mouth, the temperature, taste, biting, which side is used for biting, which teeth, change of texture, and swallowing action, noting which parts of mouth, tongue, and lips are being used. Happy New Year to all, with much gratitude to Bhante and all the organizers. End of report.
Okay, so when we hear that report, it's valuable information are there. Now, when you practice, you have to be aware throughout the day. And every activity, each and every activity that we are doing, we try to do it with attention. So if you have your meals with awareness, it's like sharing merits with all the hard work from the community. It's like saying grace. So you are aware and you are having this meal with attention, with proper gratitude towards the people who has done so much to prepare this type of a thing. So that way we try to be aware. Each and every activity, it's like we are doing it wholeheartedly. We are giving full attention to that activity and trying to just be with that activity. So that's not easy. Initially, you will find it so difficult because naturally your mind goes to various things, thoughts, plans, future planning. So these things come naturally and our attention shift to them. But when you practice this quality of being aware, of being present, then little by little you realize that I can do this activity like a meditation. Brushing my teeth, can I do it like a meditation? Having a cup of tea, can I do it like a meditation? Having my meals, can I do it like a meditation? So that's the way of practice, and little by little you can do it. You can be more and more aware. That ability you can develop, that skill you can develop. So with time it comes, you just have to do it again and again. So most of these tasks, they go automatic. They are more like autopilot mode that is running. So as you take the brush to your hand, and brushing is done automatically. But when you use the non-dominant hand, then you have to be aware of each and every movement, because that is not programmed into the non-dominant hand. Then intentionally you have to move. So those are tricks and tools that you can use to be aware. When you use the non-dominant hand, then you have to be aware. You have to do each and every movement intentionally. So that helps to be aware about the activity. Be mindful. So those tricks you can use. Various things will work for various people. So you have to find what works for you and apply it in your day-to-day life. Does it help to separate from the crowd? Maybe take your meal and go to a separate place, isolated place. It may help. Then non-dominant hand you can use while brushing. So those tricks you can find and apply them to practice mindfulness, practice awareness during your day-to-day life. And you are supporting that with the sitting and walking practice daily. And you are maintaining that part as well. So in your sitting report, you mentioned that you were alert. You were sure that you wasn't sleeping, but there was nothing. There was some kind of emptiness. So that's a good sign that we are maintaining this awareness, mindfulness, even without objects. The objects of mindfulness, we notice the breath, maybe movement of your stomach, sounds, all those things are the objects that appear in the field of awareness. But when you practice again and again, you develop this ability to maintain the mindfulness without the object of awareness. So that's why you feel that it was like a sleep, but I wasn't sleeping, I was aware, but there was nothing, just emptiness, the vast space, and you feel blissful. So that's a sign that your practice is progressing. Now the lubrication effect of mindfulness is helping. It is usually our mind grabs onto things, hold onto things so tightly. The thoughts, various things appear. Then we hold onto them. But when you practice this, it is like applying a lubricant. Your mind doesn't grab onto things so hard, so strong. Instead, just things come and go, and there is no trouble. More and more you practice this, you feel that you can maintain awareness, although the objects come and go, objects change, still you can maintain the awareness. And you realize that mind is not holding on to these things. Instead, it is letting go. That's the change that is happening. The objects are there, but your mind is not holding on to them so tightly. Sometimes it is holding for a while, and again naturally lets go. Again and again, various thoughts, ideas, it may hold, but naturally again and again let go. So more you practice, you realize the things come and go. There's no trouble, there's no friction, as long as we don't hold on to them. So that's the sign that you see. When there is awareness, it wasn't asleep, and there was nothing, just emptiness. Just you were aware, but you can verify only after waking up, only after coming to the reality again. So in between that period, you had mindfulness, but you didn't have the objects of mindfulness. So it's a good report. Continue your practice and continue to share with the group.
Thank you very much, Bhante. And thank you very much for sharing that report with us. I'd like to encourage all of us to share reports, because we all benefit from hearing each other's experience and also hearing Bhante's guidance on how to develop our practice. So given we don't have any other reports for today, there's an opportunity for anyone to ask a question or share some experience and ask for guidance from Bhante. So if you'd like to raise your Zoom hand, I can invite you to ask your question. Give everyone 30 seconds or so to indicate they'd like to ask. You could also type your question into the chat and I can ask it on your behalf. Yes, Bandula, please go ahead, ask your question.
That's right, Bhante. One little question. So I've been practicing for some time. So I could walk 15-20 minutes, then I can sit, can see what's happening in the present moment. So Bhante, I've been trying now to watch whatever comes to the mind without, I try to open up to the whatever things come into the mind. So initially it's a little bit difficult, but now I can see it. So some things it drags away the mind, but some thoughts, some incidents, I can stay stable. My question is, Bhante, I know there's some phenomena called impermanence and dukkha and non-self. So do we have to practice separately for those three phenomena, or it's just at a particular stage of the practice, so you'll see it or you will understand it? Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, 2 points. In your first part, you mentioned that you are trying to watch the things that come to your mind, right? Then the second part, you are mentioning how to practice impermanence. So both these questions, if you are trying something, if you are practicing something, then that's based on the self, right? So if it is non-self, then you don't have to try to do anything. You don't have to practice anything. Instead, things naturally come to your mind and things naturally go. That is the nature of the universe. Whatever coming to being shall pass. We just have to accept that reality and just, surrender to that reality. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything. If you are doing anything, then that is self-talking. If you are practicing something, that is self-talking. So just surrender to the present moment and be aware what is happening. Things may appear, things may disappear. Sounds, various bodily sensations, thoughts may appear, disappear. You don't have to do anything. Just being aware is the activity, right? Surrender into the present moment. That is all you have to do. And things naturally appear. And according to their course, they will disappear after a while. New things will appear. Again, they will disappear. So surrendering to this nature is the impermanence that we are talking. That is the suffering that we are talking. That is the non-self that we are talking. If you are doing something, if you are practicing something, then of course, it's the self that is talking. So just let go and just be with the present moment. And you will see that this universe is teaching you Dhamma. This universe is teaching you the truth. But doing something always ruins. Practicing something always ruins. So just surrendering to this reality, this true nature of the universe is what we are doing. And when you surrender, that's the impermanence. That's the dukkha, that's the non-self that we are talking about. If you try to practice, then you are not surrendering. If you try to be open to something, watch something, then you are not surrendering. Still you are doing things. Of course, as a beginner, we try to start with certain activities. We try to do certain things. But when you practice more and more, you realize, if I do something, then the things become turbulent. If I put my hand, then things become turbulent. And the flow is disrupted. If I refrain from that, then it goes naturally. The water flows downhill. That is the nature of the world. That is the nature of the water. As long as you refrain from doing anything, it goes on its natural course. But we are trying to, change that. We are trying to stop it. We are trying to change the direction of it. So all those things, trying, practicing these things, it's the self that's talking. It's the permanence that's talking. If you surrender to the present moment, then all the Dhamma is there. All the truth that we are talking is there. And every moment we are learning. The universe is teaching us. So just let go, just be aware. That's all you have to do. And naturally the things will appear. And naturally they will disappear. And that nature is the very impermanence that we are talking.
Thank you very much, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Bandula. We also have a question from Samantha. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my question, Bhante, and thank you, Arosha. Just following on from what Bhante was saying earlier on, that we just have to just accept whatever is aware in the present moment, and the situation will naturally sort itself. The impermanent nature, the arising and passing. I was just thinking sometimes that I find that a bit difficult because I am aware of the present moment, but however, depending on the situations, things can proliferate and you can get stuck in some sort of a situation, and it'll just sort of like one thing lead to another, and it'll sort of like can go into a bad, from a worse, difficult situation, it can even lead to a bad situation if you're not mindful. And I feel that I need to take control in the sense that I need to make an effort. I was just thinking, from different aspects of the Dhamma, whether you have to have a balance, be aware, yes, but make an effort also. If it's an unskillful action or a thought, once you've realized it, you have to then inject some, right awareness and say, look, this is unskillful. I have to sort of like do it this way, and this is not the right way of dealing with it. So I end up sort of like talking or advising myself that way. So should I be not doing? Should I be thinking that way, and sort of like, and also understand what the cause of the, say if it's a problem, what is the cause, and how do I rectify this in a non-suffering way and a skillful way, rather than just be. Sometimes I find it's difficult just to be aware of everything, because things can just spiral down sometimes if you don't react in a skillful way to the action and make the right effort or something, as in the Eight Noble Path. Bhante, how would that work?
Okay, so I will answer yes and no, right? So both parts are there into the practice. Now, if you initially, let's take, if you don't make an effort, then there's no meditation, right?
Yes.
Of course, you have to behave yourself. Of course, you have to put time into the formal practice. That is how you start. So although we try to see the non-self nature, we start with the self, right? We say, okay, there's a self. Can you walk and be aware? Can you sit and be aware? That is how we start, right? But when you practice little by little, when your mindfulness grows, initially the power of the defilements are too strong. So it is natural that if you don't do anything, then you get lost. You get carried away. So if you don't try to practice, then there's no meditation, right? But when you start little by little, when you develop your mindfulness, there's a point that mindfulness becomes stronger and stronger, and it will, overtake the defilements. It will go past the strength of the defilements. And at this point, if you try to maintain your usual way of practice, then of course you are not supporting your practice. Now the mindfulness is strong. Now you have to let it take control and let the things go according to their natural flow. So that shift, maybe for some people it takes 10-15 years. For some people it takes only 2-3 weeks. So how can we say that this is the level I am in, this is what I am doing? That confidence is what matters. So if you have the confidence, if you have the trust in this practice, then of course it won't take you long. So that's why always, even advising to beginners, we say yes and no. Yes, we try to do certain things, but no, we are not trying. We are just letting go. We are allowing things to take control according to the nature. So that change, you don't know where it will happen. So let me give you another analogy. Now, let's say a cobra, right? That's a dangerous, venomous snake, right? So you don't go playing with the cobra. But imagine if the venomous fangs are removed, then it's like a garden snake, right? Although it will show you the hood, there's no real venom, right? So you can play with it because there is no venom. If you are wearing a glove, you don't have to worry touching the wires. You don't have to worry about the electricity because you are wearing a glove. So that change is happening. That is why we are saying, of course, you have to do certain things. You have to, put time towards your formal practice every day, 1 hour, 1.5 hours practice. Do the formal meditation. But with time, you realize that mindfulness is becoming stronger and stronger. Although these thoughts, emotions, incidents, they appear so strong, if you face them, if you let them come and go under the light of mindfulness, they are not so strong. So you have to be willing to let them come and go. That is what a few weeks back we mentioned, the willingness to allow these thoughts and emotions to flow naturally under the light of mindfulness. If you have that willingness, then your practice is strong. For some people, it takes only a few weeks and they are right there. For some people, 15 years, still beginner mindset. So what to do? So always you have to, have faith, have confidence. Take a challenge, try and see, okay, these thoughts are there, they are so strong, but I'm taking a challenge. Can I be mindful and see whether they will take me into a bad, difficult, worse situation? Maybe it will happen, but when you face it again and again, when you take that risk again and again, then you realize suddenly, although the thoughts are there, their power is not there anymore. The venom is not there. So the cobra becomes a garden snake because the venom is removed. If the venom is there, if you go and play, then of course, deadly. So that change will happen with practice. That is why we are saying, support it with formal practice, invest 1 to 1.5 hours at least daily. That is not a huge time to ask. If you think the practice is important, then you will find time for this. If you are saying you have no time, in other words, you are saying it is not important. Time is a created thing. If you give value, then you will find time. So that formal practice is important. Maintaining that for a few months is important. And when you do that, you realize, when you share that experience, when you participate in these discussions, then you realize in my formal practice also, earlier I wanted to, only pay attention to the breath. If I go to sounds, thoughts, then I'm lost. That's where you start. But with time, you realize thoughts come and go. Mindfulness remains. Sounds come and go. Mindfulness remains. Past incidents, future planning, emotions, various mental pictures come and go. Mindfulness remains. The objects may change, but you can continue the mindfulness. And little by little, you realize that objects are disappearing. Now only the mindfulness remains. The strength, the share of the objects are reducing and reducing, and only the mindfulness remains. So that change you can do within one lifetime, not after death, in this very life. Within 7 years, Buddha's promise, right? He's saying, practice 7 years, this will happen. Then he's saying, maybe even 6 years, maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12 months. Then 10, 8, he reduces it to 7 days. And in another place, he's mentioning, if you start in the morning, by afternoon, you will be done. So don't underestimate yourself. Just, we don't know. Maybe it will take 70 years for somebody. Maybe it will take 7 days. Maybe it will take half a day. You don't know, right? So that confidence, if you have in practice, then you realize, of course, the venom is there. When you increase your practice, when you support your mindfulness with time, you realize that there's no venom. Now it just become a garden snake, not a cobra anymore. The hood will be there, and it will be making that scary sound, but there's no venom. So that change will happen. You have to continue your practice, continue to share the experience. That will help.
So basically, Bhante, what I'll be doing is just being aware of what I'm doing in the present moment and letting all the other peripheral things, that the thoughts and whatever is still, that's awareness coming into my mind, and whatever the unwholesome thoughts or actions, and then I just let it go. So I have to in order to do that, develop a certain amount of patience, acceptance and patience along with it, and resilience, so that I can just be focused on the present moment, what I'm doing, in order to just be able to have the confidence to let go of all the other unskillful thoughts and things that will just make me spiral down. So that's the practice. So I will be eventually trying to strengthen so in doing, well, the focus being in the present. When you say aware, Bhante says awareness, that means awareness of what I'm doing in the present, what's happening in that present moment, basically, moment to moment. That's all I need to do.
Yeah, but start with the formal practice. That is the starting point. The walking and sitting, you have to do that investment. And based on that, only those qualities will, develop. Otherwise, if you just, try to let go, that won't happen. You realize that this is not working. Instead, you have to support. It's like going to a gym and making yourself stronger. Then only you can run a marathon. If you directly go and run, then you will get a heart attack in between and, drop dead. So that will happen. So you have to make sure that you are supporting your practice with formal practice, and start there to share your experience. This is how I walk. This is how I sit. Remember that earlier report that we heard?
Yes.
So that way, in that format, if you share, continue sharing that for a few weeks. Then you realize for yourself that my practice is growing. The strength of the defilements, the energy of defilements are reducing. Then only you can, let go. Those qualities will emerge naturally due to the practice. If you try the other way around, then it won't work.
Yes,
Make sure that you are maintaining certain level of practice, formal practice. When I say practice, start with the formal practice, then move towards the day-to-day life. So that is why we are writing threefold report: walking, sitting, day-to-day life. So that's how you focus. And when you maintain that level of practice for a few weeks, then you can really see results. But again and again, you are presenting your way of practice to make sure that you are practicing correctly. If you do something else, of course, 15 years it will take, still no change. So you have to make sure that you are practicing correctly. That is a natural step-by-step growth that is happening. So it takes time. I'm not saying suddenly you can do, but sharing every week, explaining your way of practice, getting some advice will help. Little by little, you can develop on your own. So that's how you should progress.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bhante. That was very helpful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhante. Thank you, Samantha, for the question and discussion. So I don't see any further hands up. No one else has raised any questions in the chat. So with that, I would like to hand back to Nalmantha to continue the program.
Thank you very much, Arusha, for conducting the Q&A session, and much praise to Bhante for providing us with such significantly insightful help on this matter. Next, I would like to take the opportunity to go through the beginner's introduction for a few minutes. You can see on screen next the details on how to start mindfulness practice. Now, I would like to further stress the fact that this program has been structured this way from years of learning on mindfulness from Nissarana Vanaya First Monastery, and there is a very structured beginning process where a beginner will start with mindful walking and mindful sitting, and then understand and experience that his or her experience grows, expertise on doing this grows day by day, week by week. That is why if there is any confusion, it is better not to go into thoughts in significant depth. It is better to go back to this starting practice. It does not matter whether you have done 5 years or 15 years of mindful practice previously. You can always come back to this basic. It's like a martial artist who's going to kick his opponent will have one foot on the ground and the other foot will raise and perform the kick. So one foot is always on the ground. So it is always good to keep this beginner's mindful walking and beginner's mindful sitting practice as a good flow to land your one leg on and perform the other kick. So I would like to showcase here the focus of what I just said is that you start with mindful walking as per the instructions in this program, then you go to the mindful sitting with the same instructions from Bhante. And once you keep on doing that, any other questions that you get will be answered from within your own mind. That's the power of this mindfulness program, or this form of mindful practice. So for any person who's joining today's session for the first time, or for any experienced person who's maybe having some doubts or questions about the process and what to do at what time, this will be a good refresher to come back to. So there are 2 videos. One is on mindful walking, the other is on mindful sitting, and I will publish the links of these in the chat section next. So you can go through the first video on mindful walking and then go through the second video on mindful sitting, and you can allocate a small time daily, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, or I would recommend minimum 15 minutes if you can. Perform mindful walking first for 15 minutes. Try to understand the perceptions you are receiving, whether it's the sole of your feet touching the ground, whether your body movement is providing sensations to you, whether it is the rhythm of your body moving back and forth that's giving you a major perception or major sensation to your mind, and whether your mind is drifting into thoughts or whether it is returning back to the mind. So initially it's always good to try and keep your focus on a physical sensation like the sole of your feet touching the floor, but it is all right if that mind is wandering and returning back to those perceptions. You can still keep maintaining attention without trying to interfere too much with the process, or with almost very little interference, if I may say that way. Then you can go on to mindful sitting practice. We recommend directly going into the mindful sitting practice. That is the teaching of the Nissarana Forest Monastery. So in there, you can keep the breath moving in and out as a primary object, and you can have a look at your body, bodily vibrations, breath, or the abdomen falling and rising. Then you can also observe whether your mind is, keeping its focus on the body, or shifting into thoughts and coming back, or just getting, lost within thoughts and not coming back easily. These are all very powerful observations. And although they might look simple, being able to do this over and over again is a very complex effort. It's a very phenomenal effort and a very phenomenal level of success that you are achieving by going back to this process over and over again, day in, day out, for weeks and months onwards. So that's a very unusually great achievement. So although the practice seems simple, it is not, because developing the ability to come back into this practice is a phenomenal capability. Then the third point is to write down your practice with experience from the practice and put that experience into words. When you try to convert your experience into words, again, your understanding of your own mindfulness develops further, because what you experienced in a non-verbal setting is now being converted into words. Because in our practice, we do not use words when we are doing the practice, but when we are writing the report, we are converting into a verbal format. So that gives a kind of a booster to you to keep on practicing. That is why we have this as a written report-based Q&A session as a first step. before we move on to the verbal question and answer session. So you can write in your own words what were the primary objects that provided major sensations to you during each practice, and how your mind drifted away from these objects, and how your mind came back with focus onto these objects, how much time it took, and whether you observed any difficulties like pain in your body, or whether you found it easy and relaxed, like a river flowing with a certain amount of silence, or whether it's like a waterfall with vibrations and a lot of noisy thoughts disturbing you. And writing this is again very much another extension of the mindfulness practice. So it is essential that you write these. Then you can send the emails to this email address and or submit through the Google form. And we will always endeavor, just as you witnessed today in the first half of the session, we would always have all your questions answered. And if there's any difficulty for you to do this cycle of practicing and reporting in a verbal format, you can raise those questions. You can say, I am having difficulty attending to this task. My mind is usually this way in other daily activities, and that Bhante will be very happy to help you further to get to the next step of actually practicing. So this is advice actually from my own practice, as experienced by me, and as comprises the core of this teaching, and this is very powerful teaching. So please go back to the basics and start if you feel any doubts at all. And this is the session that's completed just now is on the part of the session is on beginners introduction, but it is useful for even an experienced person to come back to fortify themselves or to strengthen again if you have any confusion or doubts at any time. So with that over, I would like to invite Venerable Bhante to commence with the talk on mindfulness for today. Over to Bhante. Much merit to you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Namanta, for that introduction to a beginner. Now in there you saw that there are 2 videos where you can get basic instructions. Then according to them, you may not understand a lot when you watch the videos. It's just simple instructions are there. But when you start practicing, then you will get your own feel into the practice. So that is important. That is how you start. You watch the videos, then you try it on your own. When you try it, the experience will be totally different compared to what you understood watching a video. So that's important. That is how you progress in a practice. You get some instructions, you practice, and you give your feedback. Based on that feedback, you will get some advice. Then again, you go and practice. So this cycle has to work number of times for you to understand the practice properly. And each and every person is unique. Their practice will develop in various directions, various paths. So it is natural to differ. You just have to, get some advice, share experience, and develop on your own unique way. And when you get a proper feel, proper experience, then you realize that now my practice is growing. So this entire difficulty that we are facing day-to-day life, all these troubles and thoughts, emotions, situations that are troubling us again and again, these things happen due to ignorance. We don't know what is happening. We don't see the real picture. We only see the difficulties. We only see the troubles. We only see the stress in our mind. So this entire process, entire activity is going with the support of ignorance. We only see the suffering. We only see the pain that is there all the time. So every day we have to face certain situations. Some of them are blissful, some of them are painful. So blissful experiences you won't complain, but painful ones you have to avoid, you want to avoid. So this is happening again and again. With this practice, we try to see the real picture. We try to see what is really happening. So when we say try to walk and be aware, try to sit and be aware, people don't accept that. They think, now I have been walking for 30, 40 years. What is more there to observe? I have been functioning for so many years. Why do I have to pay attention? They don't want to accept. They don't want to open eyes. Instead, they will make some excuses. But when you open your eyes just a little bit and try to be aware that you're walking, when you sit for a while and try to be aware that you are sitting, when you do your day-to-day activities and try to be aware that you are doing certain activities, then you start to notice a whole lot of information about what is happening. You are getting a lot of data. So when you get such information, sometimes you find it is troubling you. Now earlier I didn't notice this much trouble. Now I am noticing so many thoughts are there, so many bodily sensations are there. So it becomes even more difficult. Now Mantha, can you hear?
Yes, Bhante, I can hear. I think Bhante dropped out for half a minute there.
Yes. So when you open your eyes, it is natural to see the surrounding things. And if you come and complain, if you come and say, earlier I was blind, earlier I was closing my eyes and I was fine. Now I see a lot of things. But the things were there earlier as well, but you didn't see because you didn't have your eyes open. Now you have your eyes open and you start to see. So when you pay attention in your day-to-day life, in your walking and sitting, you start to notice a lot of details. You start to notice that your mind is all over the place. So many thoughts are popping up in your head. You start to notice that your body is having so many sensations, pains, aches, all over the place. You start to hear sounds from the surrounding. You feel like they are troubling you. But this is a good sign. Now you are aware. Now little by little you start to notice what is happening. You start to observe what is happening. You notice the thoughts that are appearing in your mind. You notice the bodily sensations that are appearing and disappearing. So when you notice this, when you become aware of peace, real happiness that you have to find inwards. So this awareness is what we are recommending. Earlier you were ignorant. Due to that ignorance, you had suffering, you had difficulty. Now you are aware. As a result of awareness, you see the real picture, and that helps. That helps to reduce this friction in our life. So that is why we recommend you to start your practice. We recommend you to be aware. This very awareness is very much valuable. Now, yesterday also somebody was saying, now I have like a cloudy situation in my mind for a few days now. And out of that cloudy situation, I get lustful thoughts. And it was kind of like a complaint saying that I get lustful thoughts and I'm, suffering due to that. But also she's mentioning that I noticed them. I was observing them. I was aware. I know that my mind is cloudy. I know that it is generating lustful thoughts. That very awareness is the protection that we have. Earlier we discussed about how to wear a glove to protect yourself. So this awareness is the glove that we are talking. When you are aware about what is happening, by that very awareness, you are protected. If you know you are thinking while thinking, if you know you feel certain things while feeling them, then it's truly a superpower. All the time I'm saying, it's a superpower to know that you are thinking while thinking. It's a superpower to know that you are feeling various things, anger, lust, while feeling them. So with that knowing, with that awareness, these thoughts, these emotions, they lose their power. They lose their energy. Simply due to that very awareness. So you may know the movie Harry Potter, and the book is also there, right? So in one of the scenes, the one who must not be named loses most of his power just because Harry calls him with his name, Voldemort. Simply he calls by his name and he loses power. The one who must not be named. So that calling, that identifying, that knowing is what we are talking. If you know what is happening, then that gives you a lot of power. And the thoughts, emotions, they lose their power. If you don't know, then you are a slave. You are a slave even after weeks. You are wondering what had happened. Still you are wondering. You don't know what happened. Maybe after weeks you are apologizing. You are worrying. I have done something wrong. I am sorry. You did that because you wasn't aware. If you practice this awareness little by little, you get this protection. When you know, that gives you the upper hand. And when you know these emotions, these thoughts, they lose their power. So even in day-to-day life, if you know that you are angry, then the anger loses its power. If you know that you are lustful, then lust loses its power. If you know that you are doubting, then you are doubting the doubts. If you know you are fearful, then fear loses the power. So that is why we recommend practicing this awareness. I'm not suggesting that it is easy. It takes time. We are discussing because it's not easy, of course. If it is easy, then everybody will just, come and take a dose and try to fix all their problems. But that is not happening. That's the real essence of the practice. You have to put your effort. You have to do your work. And then only you will get results. Farming is hard. You have to do heavy work for months even. By doing that, you get a harvest. Without putting that effort, without doing that hard work, you won't get a harvest. So this is also the same way. Practice is not easy. Being aware is not easy. Ignorance comes naturally to us. So if you don't practice, you are going in this natural way of ignorance. and again you will come and complain more and more unhappiness in your life. People who are not aware, they again and again they complain more and more unhappiness. If your mind is in the future, if your mind is in the past, then of course you get unhappiness as a result. If your mind is more and more present, as a result, you get happiness. And when I say happiness, this is more like a peace in your mind. You are happy with the state of things. You are satisfied with your current situation. So the word happiness, sometimes you feel like, having some good experience, receiving a gift. That is the happiness that you are talking, usually. But that's not the happiness that we are recommending. This is a much deeper level of happiness. You are happy with your current state of things. You are satisfied with your current situation, and you don't need anything, and you don't reject anything. That blissful nature is what we are recommending. Peace in one's mind, it is not in the outside. You can't chase around various people, various activities, various professions and try to achieve peace. Instead, it's a training in your mind. You have to train inwards. And by doing that only, you can achieve peace. You see a lot of people in the outside world, they chase after various things, money, fame. They try to achieve peace with them. They think that if I attain this, I will be happy. If I be successful, I will be happy. If I marry this girl, I will be happy. But later, let's say after a few years, if you get close to them and ask, now you were thinking like this and you achieved that, are you happy? Now they are giving some other excuse. Now you married this person, you achieved that, are you happy? Now they are thinking about somebody else. So this is a never-ending search that we do outside. But if you turn inwards, then the practice is right there. The peace is right there. It won't take time. You just have to continue your practice. You just have to have confidence in your practice. And within even few weeks, you can see that this teaching, this practice is correct. Now I know because I experience myself, not because of somebody else's words. Instead, now I know, now I experience within myself. My mind is at peace. Things come and go. Temporary, I feel sadness, I feel anger, but they are not lasting. Whatever come into being shall pass. That's the truth of this universe. And when you practice, you realize that in your mind. You realize the world is in trouble. The country is in trouble. The people are protesting, but still your mind is at peace. You may be in a forest or you may be in a busy street. Still your mind is at peace. You may be healthy or you may be sick. Still your mind is at peace. So that is the real peace that we want to acquire. That comes only through practice. And this is an invitation for you to experience. Put in some hours and you can realize for yourself. You can experience for yourself. So with that invitation, we invite all of you to practice and experience this for yourself. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Bhante, and much merits to Bhante for this wonderful advice and talk. Next, we have a few minutes. If anyone has a question on today's talk, you can raise a Zoom hand and let us know. I think there is no one to raise a question on the talk. So I would like to confirm that today's session is coming to an end with this talk. So I would like to mention and thank Venerable Bhante's presence in the session today, especially given what we are experiencing in Sri Lanka is a bit of a turmoil type of condition. So even with those surrounding environmental factors causing some level of discomfort, Bhante has participated in the session. So much merits to Bhante, and we hope that the good deed again today will help Bhante's own practice day in, day out, and that Bhante will be able to participate and contribute with good health and wisdom in following sessions on this same program and even other programs of Nissarana Forest Monastery as well. Next, I would like to mention Most Venerable Bhante Udairagama Tamajiva Thero for insightfully inviting us all to construct this program and to continue this program on a weekly basis. So much merits to him as well. And then I would like to thank all the organizers who have worked hard to bring this into reality and who are continuing to monitor and sustain this program. So I would like to share all merits with them. Then I would also like to thank all the attendees who are attending, who are asking questions, which are resulting in very insightful answers from Bhante. For those who have been submitting written reports to this date, thank you so much for your effort and contribution to the program. All those questions, verbal and written, contribute to the success of the program. I would like to encourage all to keep on delivering that kind of value into the program by following up and dedicating time and effort into your own practices as well. So with that, I would like to quickly make the 3 announcements. So I will share the screen for now. So what you can see now is the Nissarana Forest Monastery website, which is nissarana.lk. Please feel free to visit this website to gain further insight and knowledge on all the wonderful activities being carried out by Nissarana Forest Monastery. The second announcement is the other website, which is dedicated to Satipasala Foundation, another initiative, large initiative from the Forest Monastery, dedicating time and effort and even innovating new methods and techniques to cause the passing of message of mindfulness to school students, to adults, to various professionals and others working in the industries, working in schools, learning in schools, so that people get to practice this more and more in day-to-day life. And irrespective of whether they are Sinhalese or Buddhist, any other ethnicities, they can learn this and grasp this, practice this, and benefit from this. So that's the second announcement, which is this website. So you can go on the website and become familiarized with all the activities going on in there, and maybe you can participate if you visit Sri Lanka especially, or even remotely, you may be able to participate in these events. I will stop sharing the screen now. The third announcement is that for you to keep on inviting any a likely person who would be interested in practicing this way. There may be people who are interested in mindful practice in your offices or in your neighborhoods. You can have a casual chat with them and introduce this session to them. We would be most delighted to have that sort of interaction happen. So with that, this session is over for today. I would like to thank all of your attendance and all of your enthusiastic effort in raising questions, and also for your participation. I would like to invite all of you to the session next Saturday as well. And also I would like to apologize that there was no session last week Saturday due to some other activities happening in Nissarana Forest Monastery, which are always activities centered around mindfulness. So with that, I would like to wish all of you a happy and mindful week ahead. And also again, as a last step, most importantly, I would like to thank Bante's presence in this session and wish to see Bante and everyone else joining in next session next week. Much merits to Bante and everyone. I will end the session now and see you next week.